Welcome, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Let me know in the comments. I pressed. Good. It says it's working. It says it's streaming. Welcome. I'm Thomas Michaud. This is Real Guitar Live. I am happy to be here, and I want to support you to playing beautiful guitar. Please feel free to ask me questions in the chat. I'm going to start with pre-submitted questions, and then I'll go over to the chat and start answering those questions. Let me start with one that is dear to my heart. This is from Carl, and he basically says he feels guilty spending time practicing. Let me read his comment. I have a big issue convincing myself that I'm allowed to spend time on my guitar just for me. I guess it goes against my old-fashioned work ethic. I feel massive guilt as if I'm doing something wrong. Have you met with this sort of problem before, and do you have any suggestions on as how to overcome this hurdle? It not only stops me from spending time with my music, but also negatively impacts the quality of my learning. Well, thank you, Carl. This is definitely something I can relate to and something I've dealt with pretty much all my life. Less now than in the past because I have spent some time dealing with it. I want to also read a couple of comments from my people that have sent in comments when I said I'm going to talk about this because they're interesting takes on the same thing. So first of all, Dave says, I can totally relate to Carl's feeling of guilt. Even though I do the cooking, cleaning, yard work, and repairs, I still feel a little tinge of guilt when I sit down to practice guitar while my wife is at her desk doing paperwork or working on a small project. She's not that into guitar or music, so if she's busy doing a chore, I start wondering if I'm really okay. It's really okay for me to do something fun while she's working. I'll admit I usually take the opportunity to pick up my guitar when she's out doing errands. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this because I'm sure many of us have similar feelings. So now that's one perspective. June has a little different take. June says, I feel more guilty about not practicing. My hands become softer and weaker, and sometimes I wonder if I should switch to cello. With cello, I imagine it's less wrist rotation, and I can just play one note at a time. I've played guitar for years and have written a few songs, but mostly I play for myself. I used to visit schools and play at small gatherings, but I'm too shy for that now. I feel like I'd be letting go of so much if I quit, but I know I need to get on a more regular practice schedule. Maybe I should take some lessons so someone could critique my technique and help me figure out where the strain is coming from. Love your newsletters. Thanks, June. Okay, so June emphasizes feeling guilty for not practicing. My experience is I have this tug of war, which is difficult. It's sort of like I have this decision I made early in life that music's important. I want to do this and I want to be reasonably good at it. I have to practice to do that. And I have at least equally this voice of my father that, real work is what's important. That means earning money, doing something for the family, even building something or fixing something. I remember trying to practice my instrument in the basement, and my dad says, quit messing around and come help me fix this thing. And that amounted to me sitting there watching him pretty much the whole time. I didn't really do anything. That told me this is not valuable practicing. It's not as valuable as sitting there just watching him work. So, fortunately, later in life, my dad actually acknowledged that I had achieved a lot, not just musically, but in my life, and told me so. And it really made me feel good. So with that said, I feel like what I've dealt with a lot is sort of like have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake and feel like it's hard to get anywhere. There's several things that have helped me, and it's an ongoing process, but I think they're worth sharing, and I think they can be useful in varying degrees for everyone. First of all, a basic reframing in my mind of what music means, playing music, getting good at music, making time to practice itself. For me, it has become clear that it is a personal development process, not just about fun or doing something frivolous, that this is what helps keep my mind sharp, my body, my dexterity. Um, I I owe that to my community and my family. The being the best person I am is how I can best serve the people around me. And that especially includes the people that are close to me. Because if I'm not taking good care of myself, it reflects on everything I say and do and how I act and how I relate to other people. It's an ongoing process. It's not a once and done thing. It's not you get good and that's it. It's a maintenance process. Maybe it's somewhat like going to the gym, right? If you don't take care of your body, you aren't going to be able to use it as much. And the playing music actually hits many physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, if you allow me a little bit of opinion there. So it helps me be calmer, more focused, clear-minded. I feel better about myself. I feel good about myself. I'm able to extend that to everybody I talk to and interact with. The second thing is I have learned not to focus on achieving a certain level of playing guitar, but to focus on, did I do my commitment that I made to myself, basically? And sometimes I've used other people to help me with that, an accountability partner, so to speak. But for the most part, I've made commitment to myself. I'm going to practice this much because I've decided that's important. And doing that is, in and of itself, a win. Whether or not I can play this song or I can see myself getting better, that has made a big difference to me. Because, first of all, actually getting better is just, it's a floating target, you know. Yes, you could say I can play the song, and the next day you can't play the song. It's coming and going, and then one day you play a song, play good, and a week later you play the same thing just as well, but your opinion is it's not as good as it should be. It changes, and of course, as you get better, what you think you should be doing gets higher and higher. So there's no end to it. Just saying, I committed to practicing this much 5 days a week, and then keeping that commitment to myself, that's the goal. That's how I think of it. And thirdly, I have learned to depend on habit more than making that decision on a daily basis, or willpower, you might say. In other words, I've set up my life so that I have certain times to practice. I'll practice after I have my morning tea, for example, and in a certain place, with everything laid out, ready to go. The decision is not hard for me because it's a habit. It's sort of like I get up in the morning and my hand goes to the toothbrush. I'm not even awake yet because that's a habit. It's just brushing my teeth is a done deal. There's no negotiating. Same with guitar practices. I go to my guitar, sit down, pick up the guitar, and I start with usually a routine that I've decided ahead of time, and sometimes something inspires me and I'll drift off. But sitting down and practicing is just a done deal. I don't have to think about it. That takes a lot of weight off of it. If you have to decide every day, it's a mental strain, and it's also emotionally draining. And if you're tired, or if you're watching somebody do something like your wife working, you have to struggle with that a little bit. Even if you decide to practice, it's kind of this push-pull thing. It helps, by the way, to get buy-in from the people you live with. Hey, honey, I made this commitment to myself to do this amount of time on these days. Could you help me be accountable for that? It's worked for me. And it's worked for me both with my wife, but also when I was younger with my kids, actually. And when they were older, they were actually happy to kind of help out that way. And I've also, I have recruited one of my friends who values something similar, and we exchange those kinds of things, commitments, accountability. It's really helped me. And there's something works for everybody. So I'm trying to hit at different areas to see what works, what you can integrate and what speaks to you. I think that's all I can think to say about it right now. But I would love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear how many of you feel guilty for not practicing, how many feel guilty for practicing, how many have this kind of tug of war that I do, or it's kind of like you're trying to go and then you're also kind of feel bad about it. And I would like to also, if you have found some ways to deal with it, that'd be great if you could share that too. Really appreciate it. With that, I'll go ahead and move on, and I'll keep looking over in the comments to see if there's something that can help out, or another comment related to this. Let me go on to the next question for now. What's the next question? Okay. Yes. Francis says, I need to stop looking down. Any suggestions? And so that's all he said, but I get that could be three things going on here. So let me just name them first. First of all, maybe looking down, you want to play for somebody else and it just looks bad, right? You lose connection. So that's one. And that's certainly a thing. Looking down, you feel like the second one, you should be over that. That's, you shouldn't need to look down. And that's probably the most common thing. Thirdly, and importantly, looking down all the time is going to impact your posture, your neck, and it's going to cause a problem. I know from experience. And I've had to deal with this, including chiropractors and therapy and things, several things that I still have a maintenance program to help with that. So very important. I'm going to spend more time on that second one because that's most likely what Francis is addressing, but by far the posture is an important aspect of playing guitar. And if your back's sore and it's causing you problems, you're not going to want to practice and play. It's not going to be fun. Okay. First of all, let me start just by saying it's not looking down is not an absolute goal. It's a developmental process. When you're first playing, you absolutely have to look and use your eyes to see if you're doing it right. And little by little, your ears and your feeling can help take some of that weight. But it never 100% goes away. The best performers still look down. The key is they don't really have to. You want to get to where you don't have to look down, and certainly not all the time. That said, I think one of the biggest things I've trained students to do, an exercise I use for myself, is to practice what I call a closed eye practice. It's something you do just for a little bit at a time, preferably every day, or for a period of time, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, every day, 30 seconds. And I'll practice something without looking and just close my eyes and feel if it's right. Then I get confirmation with my ears by playing it. And I hear if it sounds right. Well, was I aiming for that note? Da! And then I could look if it's not working. It's particularly helpful with chords because you can hear if that chord sounds right. If it sounds like this, or if it sounds, that's not quite the G chord I was looking for. Okay, I know my finger's not quite in the right place. Now, when you do that, I would encourage you to keep your eyes closed for a little longer than you think you need to. My tendency at first was to, as soon as I hit something wrong, stop and look and see what I did wrong. No, give it a couple seconds and try to make some adjustments. That's where the most of the development comes in. That couple of seconds where you struggle to listen and reconcile with your fingers the feel. That's where the real development comes in. I really mean just 30 seconds a day. That wasn't a hyperbole. Just 30 seconds and just keep doing it a little bit at a time. As this is a valuable practice even for professional musicians. Another practice that you can do that's similar, and you can even combine the two, is what I call an anchor finger. So this is particularly good when you're playing chords. When you're changing chords, try to identify a finger that's going to be your anchor. And that means stay the same, which sometimes is the case, or it's on the same string and just has to move a fret or two. So for an example, I'm playing a D chord, and I'm going to go to my G chord, a 4-finger G. I'm going to leave this third finger down as an anchor, move these 2 fingers over. Now, see, I got the spacing. This finger tells me from this finger to here, I need that much spacing. And then the pinky goes right next to it. I can feel my third finger and the pinky sliding right next to it. I don't need to look. Even this was one of the ones I got very early on in my guitar playing, to be able to change without looking, because I can feel the finger, anchor finger. Now, you might find some chords like the C chord. Going to the G, I have to move all the fingers. But I'll still leave that first finger down kind of as an anchor as I move, and then I take it off because it helps me distinguish the distance that I need. I'm going from here, I'm just moving these 2 fingers over, keeping them the same, and I can feel from this finger how far I have to go. So you can find between any 2 chords something that you can kind of latch onto, and then do that with closed eyes. See how close you got? 30 minutes, look down. Yeah, looking good. Just keep at it. You'll see in 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see improvement. Don't expect 2 days that just nail this. It's a little at a time process. One thing that I do constantly, instead of looking down like this, is I'll just glance at the side of my neck and I can see where my fingers are based on these little dots. Now, if you have an acoustic guitar, there's dots on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 12th frets. And that helps you distinguish where you are without having to actually look down, at least getting your up and down the neck in the right place. If you have a classical guitar, not so easy. Generally, we don't have dots on the classical guitar. I put a dot right on the 7th fret. It's a little decal I got on Amazon, and that helps me. It's just enough for me, the 7th fret, because I can distinguish between here and 5 very easily and here to 12. That might be a help to you. You might want to try that. Okay. Let me move on. If you think of any more questions about that, please feel free to enter them into the chat. What's the next question? I'm having a hard time hitting the right strings with my pick. Paul says, any suggestions? Or I'm sorry. Yes, Paul. I have a couple ideas for you, Paul. First of all, start by, this is an exercise I give all students when they're first starting out. Just open strings, no hands, and just look at your strings and hit the first string. Then go to the second string 4 times. This is a preliminary warm-up. All the way down to 6 strings, 4 times each, and then go back up. Do this just for a minute or so, just to get a sense of where your pick's going to fall, connected to your hands. Then try doing this with your eyes closed. Do this a little bit each day till you're feeling fairly comfortable. Not perfect. Don't worry about perfect. Just, I would say, maybe 3 to 4 days, just to kind of feel like you could do this without totally fumbling it. Now, here's the second step. This is where it really starts building up. Hit the first string 4 times. And start by looking. I closed my eyes, but I jumped the gun. And then go to the 3rd string. Now you're doing bigger differences. That wasn't the 3rd string, right? 1, 2, 3. I can't really see from here. There. Okay, I already jumped to the second exercise. Start 4 times from the 1st string, and then jump to the 3rd, and then 2 times. 1 time. Now, do that 1 to 4, then 1 to 5. When you're ready, I can do that for a few days first. Do it with the eyes closed. all the way to the sixth string. Sixth string's actually not that hard because you just go all the way up and come down. It's the fifth string. That's going to be a distance. 4, 5, 4, 5. 30 minutes, 1 minute a day. Persistence is what's going to make the difference. Keep at it. It will help. Just a couple of tips. It helps if you anchor your finger here. It's easier to gauge the distance. And I would use that, think of it like training wheels. It's perfectly fine. That's what gets you to where you need to go. Eventually, you won't need it. You'll just be able to gauge the distance. And that's what you're doing. Your mind is memorizing the distance between the strings. And that's what you need to do eventually, to not even think about it. Your hand just knows where to go. And try it without any left hand. You could always eventually add a chord to it to make it a little more interesting. But start without even paying attention to your left hand. Just leave the strings open. Keep the movement small. Don't do this. That adds complexity that's not needed. Keep it small, a little movement, and then move. Just pick and let it go through the string and then stop it. Relax, don't tense up. Practice one string at a time and get that third string before you start going to all the other strings. So I talked about work on that third string for a while until you get comfortable, then add the fourth string and the fifth string and so on. And again, daily is the issue. This is something you need to do a little at a time and keep coming back at. You're training your mind. And it works best with interval of space, rest, train, rest, train, rest. Works much better than keep pushing at it. Good exercise and good question. What's next? What was the most difficult part of learning to switch chords efficiently? And other than practice, if there's another way, how did you master the obstacle? So, Brandon, this is a problem that every guitar player I've ever known, every student has had, is switching chords. They can play a bunch, usually students, especially when they learn their own, start learning a bunch of chords. They know a dozen chords, they can play them, but they can't change smoothly between them. First of all, start with just a few chords. Forget impressing people with 50 chords that you can play. It doesn't do anything. Just pick at the most a handful of chords. I would start with 2, 3 chords and practice switching between them. That's the key, is to practice and to keep coming back at it. Put on a metronome and go very slow and just strum 4 times. This should be the easiest and switch chords. I'm just picking the D to the G right now. And I want to get right on the click on the metronome. At first, I would start with just 3, 2, 3, and the fourth click, leave a space to give you time to change. And then tighten it up little by little to where you can strum 4 times and still change on time. Then you pick that up, make the metronome go faster. You can also start just strumming twice, so you have to change more often. Usually kind of a combination of the two. Speed up a little bit, then knock it down to just 2 strums each. Do that a little bit each day and just keep coming back at it with 2 chords, then add a third chord, then do that with another set of 2 chords and add a third chord. By the way, when I say 2 chords, pick 2 chords that are in the key. Like D and G are both in the same key, so you can actually use them. The key of D uses G as the 4 chord and A as the 5 chord, or A7. So I've got now 3 chords that I can change between that you can play a song with. You can practice a song. Of course, the more you play, the better you get. So there's no other way than practice, but practicing efficiently is the key here. Practicing just doing the same mistakes over and over is basically a practicing mistakes. You don't want to do that. You want to go as slow as you need to get the timing right and then speed up. Practicing fast and screwing up and then trying to go around and get it again, you're training your brain to miss the chord change. And then you have to undo that over time. It's doable, but it's a very long process. The other thing I would tell you, Brandon, is when I was playing, I remember thinking in the first year, just this problem. I just couldn't seem to strum smoothly and switch chords on time without it sounding really messed up. I thought I would see progress little by little. Yeah, maybe level off and you get a little better. But that's not the way it worked. And I've seen with other students the same thing. Kind of goes, you get a little better, and it seems like you get even a little worse, and you get a little better. And then at some point, all of a sudden you make a big jump. And then you kind of level out again, and then another big jump. So it might seem like you're not getting anywhere, but that's not how it works. You're going to see over time, if you do what I'm suggesting, you will. All of a sudden, it'll just kind of click, and you'll see a big jump. Not from bad to perfect, but you'll see a big leap, and it makes you feel hopeful and all. And then that kind of normalizes, and now you're at a new level, and you start looking for that next jump. I hope that helps. In one of your early flamenco lessons, you mentioned that you use the second finger instead of the index finger when picking notes. You say that it's fine to use your index finger instead, but I'm wondering why you don't just do that, why you prefer to use your second finger. So I don't know any more about this question, but I think he's talking about this kind of exercise. Let me go to my guitar hand here for a minute. This exercise, where I'm picking the first note with my index or second finger. I can do it like this, or I can do it like this. It's index finger. So both are perfectly fine. My preference is to be able to do both equally well. Probably in my earlier lessons, I remember I used to like to use my second finger more. It just felt more natural with my hand. I feel like I had to turn my hand more to use my index finger. But I've practiced a lot with my index finger doing this, and I'd say they're about equal now. Maybe even I prefer my index finger a little bit for this kind of picking pattern because it's just a little softer sound. This is a little more louder. Ding, ding, ding. Subtle, huh? That's a little softer sound with my index. I think I prefer that a little bit more. So really, neither one is right or wrong. Best to be able to do both. Maybe now, if I were doing that same lesson, I'd use my index finger. Okay. In the circle of fifths, does every arrow on the right represent a fifth jump and every arrow on the left represent a fourth jump? Let's look at the circle of fifths. That's not the circle of fifths. Coming. That's the circle of fifths. Absolutely right. As you look at the circle of fifths, if you go to the right, you are making a jump of a fifth. C to G, G to D, and so on. If you go to the left, you're going jump of a fourth. C to F is a jump of a fourth. Okay, that was an easy one. Let me go back to I want my full screen there I got this cool foot switch. It's cool, but I'm still training my foot to get in the right place at the right time. Okay. That's all the questions I have pre-submitted. Let's go over here and look for any questions you submitted. By the way, if anytime submit a question as we're talking, no problem. I'll get to it. If you could start with the word question, I really appreciate it. I've got comments and questions here, and I just can't read fast enough to figure out which is a question, which is a comment. If I see question, I'm going to hone in on that. If I see a comment, I might pass it by. If I do, I'm really sorry. I promise you I want to answer it. Just add it again later, and preferably with the word question, so I'll see it more clearly. The first question, I've been playing for a couple of years now and still have issues strumming and timing. Any suggestions? Yes, Ellie. strumming and timing is very much related to this changing chord things. It's the same idea. The real key there is to just think of it as a developmental process and not something you figure out, get, and move on. At least I'm talking about how I thought about it. I thought, you work out really hard and you get it, and now you just move on. Little at a time, kind of like building a muscle or like building any skill, right? You just break it down, work at it a little at a time. The best thing I found for strumming and timing is to start with a metronome, go slow, and just strum straight down. Let me give you an example. I'll go, right. I'm talking slower than you probably think. And really just listen to that metronome, trying to get right in the center of that beat. This is something a drummer taught me a long time ago. A beat has a beginning, a center, and an end. And if you aim for that center, you're really going to have to focus more than just trying to hit that beat. Center of that beat, right dead center of that beat. This is simple, but it's more valuable than you realize. Trust me on this. Now, you can pick up the speed a little bit, and as long as you can still get in the center. If you're starting to have a hard time hitting the center, slow it down a little bit. You want to train your mind to get it right, not to keep fumbling, and train your mind that fumble is right. It doesn't judge. It doesn't know right or wrong. It only knows if you're doing something over and over, that's what you want to memorize. So if you're doing it wrong over and over and over, that's something you're going to have to undo. When you're ready, start adding a simpler strum. I just start like this, down, down, up. Same thing, try and get in the center of a beat, but now you got to get that up on the second half. That can be a little tricky at first, right? And then you might want to up the strum to something a little more complex. This is a very popular strum that you want to aim for. Down, down, up, skip, up, down, up. And for general pop, rock, blues, modern music, this is a very common strum. I call it the eagle strum because they use it a lot, but a lot of people just call it a pop rock strum because it's used in a lot of pop rock songs. Down, down, up, skip, up, down, up. And again, you're trying to just get in the center of the beat and speed up. And of course, the next thing there is to add, I wouldn't wait, but you could adding different chords. Try strumming and then change to a different chord. I would start changing with just this strum. And get right on the beat. Because changing chords is as much an issue as just having a smooth strum. For smoothness, hold your pick between your index and your thumb and have the pick pointing out. That's not the only way to hold the pick, but for strumming, it's the easiest way to get a smooth strum. Then you point your pick on the end and kind of brush the strings up and down. Let your wrist turn a little bit. A little bit, by the way. I'm not doing this, right? That was exaggeration, but try to stay close here so you don't have to come too far down. When I'm playing melodies, I tighten up on the pick and play like this. So you don't want to do that for strumming. Okay, that's all I can think for now. Let me move on, but feel free to ask more questions about that. Well, evening from England. Yeah, we're in different time zones. Thanks for joining us. It's imperative. Okay. Exactly what I do. Okay, I'm looking for the word. That isn't that you aren't. Okay. Oh, a lot of great comments here. I'd love to just read them all, but I'd keep you guys waiting. Definitely feeling a tug of war, Brandon. Yeah. Question: how many days a week and how long would you practice at a time? Okay, these are good. This is the kind of question I know Brandon is serious, wants to play. Okay, so let me think. There's not one answer for this. First of all, I would recommend practicing a little bit at a time to start. Focus on getting the habit of practicing more than how long you practice. This is, I would say, a mistake I made in the beginning that I've seen and want to really encourage students to change their mind about this, because I'm sure I'm sure many people could benefit from this. Focus on even just 10, 15 minutes a day, but doing it so that it gets to be easy, so you don't even think about it. Then start thinking about if you want to add on 20 minutes, 25, and so on. Try to make it easy. Have your stuff set up, get a place to practice, know where you're going to practice, maybe even schedule in a time of day. I do schedule. I do actually schedule from, in general, I have a calendar with practice in it, but every morning I kind of confirm that and juggle things around a little bit. And I say, I know when I'm going to practice. See, the thing is, I used to say, I got to practice this long a time if I'm going to be a real guitar player. And then the day would get busy and I'd say, oh, but I can't practice that long time. Well, I'll wait until I get that much time, which wouldn't happen. Wouldn't practice. That would go on and on. If I would have started with just 10, 15 minutes and said, that's non-negotiable, that I'm going to do. I'm going to do it early in the day, so it's not a matter of things getting away from me. For me, that works. Some people, night is perfect, so I don't want to say that's the only way to do it. 10, 15 minutes, that's a routine. Get going. I would go for 6 days a week. 5 is fine. But the little bit. I take Sundays off. Doesn't matter what day. And I would recommend, if you can get somebody to agree with you that that's important, and they're going to remind you, is your practice. That's worked for me in the past. I don't need that now. If you can expand it little by little, maybe half an hour a day, 6 days a week, great. But don't worry about it. Go for the habit first and then work on expanding the time that you're practicing. Now, to give you just, an overall, yes, it depends on what you're aiming for eventually. If you want to play professionally or you want to, be at a certain level, you can play with other people and hold your own in a variety of situations. You're going to want to practice probably more than that, right? And I certainly do. But if I were starting over, I would start with 10 minutes, really. I had seen so many years of up and down and wasted time because I'm waiting for the full half hour, an hour to practice. Also, I've learned to practice even when you extend it to, let's say you want to practice for an hour, it works better to practice for like 30 minutes and then take a break, and then 5-10 minute break, and then practice another 30 minutes. You learn faster when you have breaks, because when you try to bustle out of practice, your attention and how much you actually absorb starts going down, down, down. So you start wasting a certain amount of time. If you practice 30 minutes, I do a little stretching exercise to help my back, and then come back another 30 minutes. Mind's sharp. My posture's feeling better. I get much more out of that 30 minutes than I would if that was the end of an hour of practice. As a side note, it actually is even better if you can practice a little in the morning and a little at night. Sleep on it. You learn while you're sleeping. Sleeping consolidates in your mind some of the things that you worked on the next day. Not always doable for everybody. And there's some value to kind of like compartmentalizing practice. I get that. And then the rest of the day goes on and all kinds of stuff comes up. So that's part of the decisions you'll have to make. Thanks for asking that, Brandon. As a follow-up, do you have any recommendations on how to build a schedule which includes guitar, keyboard, and songwriting practice, or do you recommend alternating between the three? So, interesting question. You want to play guitar, keyboard, and write songs. I'll tell you what I know about that. I don't currently spend time on keyboard, but when I was in college, that was the issue, whereas we had to do a certain amount of time on the actual guitar itself. We had piano class and theory class. So we had to spend theory separate from actually practicing the instrument and do homework and be accountable for that. So yeah, I would schedule my day. Basically, you're talking a student schedule. Schedule your day. I would say, do a rough schedule each week, and then each morning kind of take into account anything that's changed and make a schedule and then work it. Leave time for breaks. Do your schedule so you can basically do 30-minute sessions and then It's called a Pomodoro technique. That's where I first got the idea. You can look it up. Pomodoro. Yeah, like the tomato. It's basically the idea is practicing, they say 25 minutes and then 5-minute break and 25 minutes. You get more out of it that way. I do 30 minutes and usually a 5 to 10 minute break because of what I do in my break, my stretching routine. I would say this, songwriting it's good to spend time just on songwriting if you want to write songs, not just assume practicing guitar will get you to be able to write songs. And I would assume keyboard's the same. If you want to get good at keyboard, you just need to schedule in time to practice keyboard. I would say, again, try to start small and create a habit, but work at getting a schedule that you can work on. I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know if you're working 8 hours a day or if you are actually a student and this is, your day, or have a part-time job and most of your time is playing music. So it depends on your lifestyle and how you can work that. If you have time, either as a student or working part-time and you have time to really work on music, schedule a day with the chunks of practicing built in around your work, leave time for rest, leave plenty of time to sleep, to have time to chill at the end of the day, and then come back out again the next day. You're working your brain. Take one day off, or possibly 2, but at least 1 day off. You are learning when you take a day off. Trust me on this. I really underestimated this. You are learning. It's just you need time to consolidate things in your mind, and it will pay off in the long run, even though it might feel like wasting time if you're in a hurry to get somewhere. Okay, next. How would you differentiate between anchor fingers versus pivot fingers? Well, I know those terms. Personally, I don't worry about that. It doesn't seem to be useful for me to distinguish. I just call them all some type of anchor. So an anchor for me is a finger that's going to stay the same. It's also a finger that's going to stay on the same string but slide up or down, or a finger I'm just using as a guide finger is the term I've heard other people use for it, that I keep in place while I'm changing to the next chord and then lift up. Eventually, to be clear, your fingers are going to go up and down all at the same time. These are just steps on the way to getting there. So when I play, I do leave my finger there. I'm not going to take it off and put it back down, but I'm not waiting and putting certain fingers down and then other fingers down. That's where you're headed. So work on building the habit rather than how long you practice. Yes. I underestimated the habit a lot, and I found this to be extremely beneficial with my students. And Brandon says his goal is to play professionally, playing with others, write songs, and gig, including be able to play with my church worship teams. Excellent idea. Okay, that's all the questions I see for now. If you have any quick extra questions, I would love, throw them in the chat and I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to get ready to close up for today. By the way, I'm going to do this the second Thursday of every month. In my time, it's 12 noon. Depending on where you're at, Eastern time, that would be 3 p.m. And in England, I know that's 8 p.m. And, of course, you can look online and check out what time it is in your own area. Any last minute questions? I want to thank you all for joining me today. It's really been a pleasure being here. I will take this recording and it'll be on YouTube, but I'll also send an email with timestamps. So if you want to get to a specific question that we talked about. Good. I will see you hopefully next month, the first Thursday. Take care. Keep practicing.